The question right now is a negative one, unfortunately. We're going to go with which team had the worst offseason and why? Who wants to start us off?
I'll go first. I think the New York Giants had the worst offseason. They trade arguably the best player after extending him and paying him a lot of money, which is something that you have to figure that the Mara family still probably not happy about. And then Dave Gettleman made the decision to take Daniel Jones. We don't know if he's going to be good yet, but I'm not really sure he needed to take him so early on in the draft. You know, there were a lot of reports there that say he was going to be available when they didn't need to go get him, that he would have been available at 17 when they had their second pick. So I think collectively for the Giants, it's been a little bit of a rough outing, and we'll see if they'll be able to clean up by the time training camp comes around.
I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears. I think losing Vic Fangio, him becoming the head coach of the Denver Broncos, I think is huge. That Chicago Bears defense, I mean, it literally like fueled their offense. It's the identity of the Bears. And when you lose a talented defensive coordinator like that, I think there's going to be some slippage there.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bears, too. I think when you're going to play defense, you're going to lean on takeaways to help a young offense, and you don't have a kicker, a reliable kicker that you're going to need those points from after some of those turnovers. I think the kicking question is really big right now in Chicago, and I think that might be a problem for them in the season.
So on NFL Live yesterday, they did a segment about which team had the worst off-season. And there were all kinds of suggestions from the people on the show. Great show, by the way. You should check it out. And one person came up with a very interesting take, and that was our own John Fox. For those that don't know and don't remember, John Fox, thrice a head coach in the NFL. That would have been
most recently for the Chicago Bears.
Before that, Denver Broncos, Carolina Panthers, blah, 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 blah. And he said that the Chicago Bears had the worst offseason in the NFL. And, of course, that got a lot of people in Chicago a little upset because, hey, John, we replaced you with Matt Nagy, and we did really well and all this kind of stuff. And you can understand why they would feel that way. But I think his logic behind it is not incorrect, right? Because he said, first and foremost, they lost Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator.
They did, yes.
Who's now the head coach of the Denver Broncos. And I think that's I think that's one of the more underrated moves this offseason in terms of a loss that people aren't talking about. And then he said their kicking situation is very tenuous. And when you have a team last year, let's be honest, for all the wrinkles that we saw on the offense with Matt Nagy, it was a team built on defense. And they want to win a lot of close games, which means you have to have a solid kicking game. Well, the kicking game did not turn out to be solid in the postseason. So now you lose the architect of that defense in Vic Fangio, and your kicking game is still suspect. So is he right?
Boy, that's a tough call. I do think it can be underrated when we keep talking about players when you lose a defensive coordinator. 50 sacks last year, 27 interceptions, 19 forced fumbles. Quite honestly, even if Vic was back, that would be tough to do again, especially the turnover part of it. Rarely do you see 2 years in a row where the turnovers happen. I mean, they seem to come in bunches for a year at times. And so I think that would even be tough to duplicate. So I do think that is a bigger loss than people anticipated. And also, you do have to say the kicking game. I mean, now Robbie Gould wanted to come back, right?
Absolutely.
He still hasn't signed the tender out in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And San Francisco says, dude, you're kicking for us, this year. So that is a tough part of their game right now, the kicking game, which has not to this point been addressed.
Well, and I think you can do it twofold. It's certainly about what they lost, especially in Vic Fangio, but also what did the Bears really gain? I'm trying to think back to their free agent signings because in the draft, in part because of the Khalil Mack trade, they didn't have a pick until the third round, and they took David Montgomery from Iowa State, who, again, helps replace Jordan Howard, who now plays for the Philadelphia Eagles in that backfield.
Right.
But none of the guys they drafted, you would say, especially from the third round on down, you would consider instant impact.
Well, Ridley from the wide receiver, right?
Riley Ridley from Georgia, who again was a fourth round pick though. So
right,
I mean,
okay, but I think he's better in the fourth round.
I agree with
I
you.
think he got better value for that.
You got better value, but he's not an instant impact guy that you would think of as saying, "Oh, that's a marquee offseason move."
Yeah, yeah. I guess that's going to have to be a wait and see approach there. They picked up Mike Davis, the running back from Seattle. Cordell Patterson from the Patriots, a wide receiver, something they certainly needed. I mean, what they have to improve upon is the passing game, and that's going to come from Mitch Trubisky. The leading receiver last year was Tariq Cohen.
That's not going to work.
Your running back. That isn't going to work. Taylor Gabriel was second. Cohen had 71. Gabriel 67. And then you go to Allen Robinson with 55. So, they did lose Jordan Howard. Other than that, not a whole lot that they lost there.
Well, I say, but they did. I guess I'm saying they didn't bring in much, so it can be just as much about you lost Vic Fangio
Correct.
and you didn't address much on offense with anything else you did besides drafting a couple of guys who are again from the third round and beyond.
All right, so let's pretend we're all on NFL Live, and I'm back in my old incarnation as the host of NFL Live. Okay, who do you think did have the worst?
I mean, that's such a.
What
and I'm not going to lie, I hate questions like that because I really do. I mean, 32 teams. We're breaking down the draft and all the offseason. That's a tough call.
What about forget the worst offseason? Just the single worst offseason move, whether it was something a team lost.
I'll still say the Giants trading Odell Beckham.
Well,
I'll still say that.
Not only that, getting rid of Olivier Vernon. The risk with taking Daniel Jones 6, no matter what GM Dave Gettleman says, I don't believe he would have been taken before 17.
I'd probably go there. So maybe that would tie in.
Collins walks out.
Maybe that would tie into the worst. Now, supposedly they've upgraded their offensive line, but even some they grabbed there are question marks about as well.
Where did Eric Flowers go?
Eric Flowers is in Washington.
And they're going to put him at guard. Like that's going to solve all the issues. They're going to put him
at guard. So maybe I do look to the Giants. Maybe I do look there, getting rid of Odell Beckham.
Baltimore got rid of almost all their experience on defense. I mean, they lost a ton of players on defense, and they're banking on their idea of how to play quarterback with a running quarterback is going to work. That one's curious to me. It's curious.
I would say Baltimore could certainly be up there. And again, I'm saying, you look at a couple of moves because I think the Steelers got a foundational player in Devin Bush in the draft out of Michigan. But on offense, you lose the production of Antonio Brown and you lost Mike Munchak, your offensive line coach.
Yes.
Who is there are a handful of offensive line coaches who can actually shape, teach, and create in the NFL, and he's one of them. And you lost that guy this offseason.
Yeah, I'm not
and
saying.
I like Sean Sweesom, the guy who's the coach now. He was the assistant when I was there. Yeah. He's an awesome dude and an awesome coach, but Munch is in a different category.
He is in a different category, and he's in Denver with Vic Fangio, interestingly enough. I will say this. I don't think there's more pressure on any one player going into this season than Juju, because he had an unbelievable year as the number 2 guy.
And is beloved.
Yes, and beloved. And arguably the best number 1 guy walked out the door, which means you've got to wear the mantle of beating those double teams now each and every game.